Have you ever noticed how some people manage to deal with difficult individuals without losing their composure or wasting unnecessary energy? There's a secret behind this that most people don't understand. According to Mel Robbins, one of the leading experts on human behavior, truly intelligent people aren't those who win every argument. In fact, they do something completely different that transforms the entire dynamic of relationships with toxic individuals. While most people wear themselves out trying to prove points or defend positions, emotionally intelligent people adopt a totally different approach. They protect three fundamental resources: their mental energy, their valuable time, and their clarity of thought. This doesn't happen by chance. It's a conscious choice based on specific principles that you can learn and apply immediately. What I'm going to share today changed my perspective on interpersonal relationships and can revolutionize yours too. If you've ever felt drained after interacting with certain people or wondered how some individuals maintain their serenity even in challenging situations, this content is especially important for you. Consider subscribing to the channel because we'll be discussing practical strategies that completely transform your approach to difficult people. Dealing with toxic personalities requires less impulsive emotion and much more conscious emotional strategy. The fundamental difference lies in the approach. Let's explore exactly how intelligent people navigate these complex situations without compromising their mental well-being. The first mistake that virtually everyone makes when dealing with problematic people is believing that intelligence means arguing better or presenting more elaborate reasoning. This popular belief is extremely harmful because it creates a mental trap that is difficult to escape. When faced with someone exhibiting toxic behavior, our natural tendency is to explain, justify, and defend our points of view with greater intensity. We believe that if we can articulate our arguments more clearly or logically, the other person will finally understand our perspective. This thinking represents the exact opposite of what we should do. People with toxic behaviors operate with a completely different logic. They are not genuinely interested in resolving conflicts, finding constructive solutions, or establishing healthy communication. Their main goal is to provoke emotional reactions, drain others' energy, and maintain control over interpersonal situations. Mel Robbins is extremely clear on this point. Toxic individuals don't want real solutions. They seek intense reactions. The more emotionally involved you become, the more fuel you provide to feed dysfunctional behaviors. It's like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Your good intentions become tools against yourself. Intelligent people recognize this pattern quickly and make a different conscious choice. They realize that those who react emotionally automatically lose control of the situation. Therefore, they completely change the rules of the game before even starting to play. If this makes sense to you, leave a comment simply writing, "I choose strategy." This simple statement already represents a fundamental mindset shift that will influence your future interactions. The first fundamental principle that emotionally intelligent people apply is avoiding excessive explanations. This may seem contradictory initially, especially if you were raised to always justify your decisions or explain your reasoning in detail. However, over-explaining represents a dangerous transfer of personal power. When you feel compelled to extensively explain your choices, decisions, or feelings to someone with toxic behavior, you are essentially putting yourself in a vulnerable position. You expose yourself unnecessarily, offer information that can be distorted later, and demonstrate that you need the other person's approval or understanding. Toxic people are extremely skilled at identifying these vulnerabilities. They use your words, explanations, and justifications as ammunition for future attacks. Your sincere attempts at communication become weapons against yourself. It's a destructive cycle that perpetuates itself the more you strive to be understood. Truly intelligent people adopt the completely opposite approach. They speak little, but with absolute clarity. Their communications are direct, specific, and definitive. There is no room for ambiguous interpretations or subsequent manipulations. They express their positions concisely and immediately end the discussion. This strategy works for several important psychological reasons. First, it demonstrates inner security. People who don't need to explain themselves extensively convey natural confidence. Second, It removes the fuel that feeds unproductive discussions. Without additional material to distort or question, toxic people quickly lose interest. Mel Robbins teaches that brief communicative clarity is an unmistakable sign of emotional maturity. Mature people don't feel a compulsive need to be understood by everyone. They know that not everyone deserves access to the intimate details of their thoughts or personal decisions. Consider everyday situations where you can apply this principle immediately. When someone questions your choices in an invasive way, a simple response like, "I decided this way," is sufficient. There's no need to elaborate on detailed reasons, especially for people who demonstrate questionable intentions. The second transformative principle that intelligent people master is creating emotional distance without carrying unnecessary guilt. This skill represents one of the most important competencies for maintaining mental sanity in challenging relationships. Many people confuse emotional distance with coldness, rejection, or lack of empathy. This misinterpretation generates internal guilt that sabotages healthy attempts to establish appropriate boundaries. The truth is that strategic emotional distance is not personal rejection. It's essential self-care. Emotionally intelligent people understand that they are not obligated to remain emotionally available to everyone all the time. They recognize that emotional availability is a finite resource that should be consciously invested in relationships that offer healthy reciprocity. This understanding completely frees you from unrealistic expectations that society often imposes. You don't need to respond to every message immediately. You don't need to always be available for conversations that drain your energy. You don't need to engage in manipulative emotional games just to avoid superficial conflicts. When you apply strategic emotional distancing, something interesting happens with toxic people. They perceive a change in relational dynamics and often intensify problematic behaviors initially. This is a desperate attempt to regain lost control over their emotional reactions. Intelligent people anticipate this temporary escalation and remain firm in their new stances. They understand that consistency is fundamental to establishing new relational patterns. They don't allow themselves to be manipulated by dramatic intensifications of toxic behaviors. Gradually, when problematic people realize they can no longer provoke predictable emotional reactions, they naturally redirect their attention to more receptive targets. This process happens organically, without the need for direct confrontations or elaborate explanations about behavioral changes. Effective emotional distancing also involves not responding impulsively to provocations. Intelligent people develop the ability to internally process situations before reacting externally. They create temporal space between stimulus and response, allowing for conscious choices instead of automatic reactions. The third fundamental principle is to establish silent but absolutely consistent boundaries. This approach contrasts sharply with conventional strategies that emphasize explicit verbal communication about personal boundaries. Most people believe that setting boundaries requires dramatic announcements, verbal threats, or detailed explanations of what will or will not be tolerated. This belief generates counterproductive situations where boundaries turn into endless negotiations or debates. Truly intelligent people operate completely differently. They don't make empty threats or announce boundaries loudly. Instead, they silently modify their behaviors in ways that communicate boundaries unequivocally through concrete actions. This approach is exponentially more effective for several important psychological reasons. First, actions speak louder than words, especially with people who habitually ignore verbal communication. Second, silent boundaries cannot be debated, questioned, or manipulated through argumentation. When you change your availability without making dramatic announcements, you are establishing a powerful boundary. When you reduce personal access through consistent actions instead of verbal threats, you are communicating self-respect irrefutably. When you end conversations respectfully but firmly the moment respect disappears, you are demonstrating non-negotiable boundaries. Mel Robbins constantly reinforces that stronger boundaries are those that dispense with verbal explanations. They manifest themselves through behavioral consistency that speaks for itself. Toxic people can argue against your words, but they cannot debate your consistent actions. Consider practical examples of this approach. If someone habitually disrespects your time by arriving late for appointments, you don't need to lecture them about punctuality. Simply adjust your future availability based on demonstrated behavioral patterns. If someone consistently ignores your opinions in conversations, gradually reduce emotional investment in those interactions. Silent boundaries also include not justifying your decisions to people who demonstrate an intention to manipulate or disrespect. When someone aggressively questions your choices, a simple response followed by conversational redirection communicates boundaries more effectively than lengthy defensive explanations. Consistency is a crucial element of this strategy. Sporadic or inconsistently applied boundaries quickly lose credibility. Toxic people constantly test boundaries, looking for inconsistencies they can exploit. When limits are applied with absolute consistency, testing naturally decreases. There is another set of behaviors that truly intelligent people completely avoid when dealing with problematic individuals. Understanding these behavioral pitfalls is just as important as mastering positive strategies. First, intelligent people never try to change or transform toxic people. This attempt represents a monumental waste of mental and emotional energy. Genuine change must come from within the person and be motivated by personal recognition of the need for transformation. When you take responsibility for another person's behavioral change, you are essentially accepting a role that does not belong to you. You put yourself in an impossible position where failure is practically inevitable, generating increasing frustration and unnecessary emotional strain. Toxic people often exploit this altruistic tendency by manipulating hopes that they can change if they receive enough love, understanding, or patience. This manipulation keeps well-intentioned people trapped in dysfunctional relational cycles indefinitely. Second, intelligent people completely avoid emotional disputes. They recognize that intense emotional engagement with problematic people inevitably results in burnout without corresponding benefits. Emotional disputes drain energy that could be productively invested in healthy relationships. When provoked into emotionally charged discussions, intelligent people simply refuse to participate. Not through dramatic announcements, but through calm and respectful withdrawal from the situation. They understand that not participating is a victory, not a defeat. Third, intelligent people never seek validation from individuals who demonstrate a consistent inability to offer basic respect. Seeking approval from toxic people is counterproductive because it places your personal value in the hands of those who lack the capacity to recognize genuine value. This search for validation creates harmful emotional dependence, where your self-esteem becomes conditioned on the approval of people who may use this need as a manipulative tool. Intelligent people derive validation from internal sources and genuinely healthy relationships. They understand a fundamental truth that completely transforms perspectives on interpersonal relationships. Not every person deserves complete access to your life, energy, or emotional vulnerability. Access is a privilege that must be earned through consistently respectful behavior. If this perspective resonates with you, leave a comment writing, "I choose maturity." This conscious decision profoundly influences the quality of your future relationships, allowing for intelligent emotional investment in people who reciprocate respect and consideration. Recognizing these behavioral traps allows for more effective navigation through complex interpersonal situations, preserving energy for relationships that contribute positively to your personal growth and well-being. The approach that truly intelligent people use to deal with toxic individuals can be summarized in 3 words: strategic silence, clear boundaries, and conscious action. This triad represents a complete relationship philosophy that transcends superficial techniques or temporary manipulations. Strategic silence does not mean passivity or submission. It represents a conscious choice not to fuel destructive dynamics through unnecessary emotional engagement. When you master the art of strategic silence, you are essentially removing the fuel that keeps toxic behaviors running. Problematic people depend on reactions to maintain control over interpersonal situations. Without these predictable reactions, they quickly lose interest and redirect their attention to more responsive targets. Your silence becomes a powerful tool for self-determination. Clear boundaries function as an emotional immune system, protecting against negative influences while allowing positive energy to enter. These boundaries don't need to be dramatically announced. They manifest through behavioral consistency that communicates self-respect unequivocally. Conscious action means that every response, every decision about engagement, every emotional investment is a deliberate choice based on personal values rather than impulsive reactions. Intelligent people don't allow others' behaviors to dictate their actions or emotional states. When you integrate these three dimensions, something extraordinary happens. You recover precious resources that were being wasted on one-sided relationships. Your mental energy returns. Your time becomes available for more productive investments. Your clarity of thought is restored. Most importantly, you recover something that is infinitely more valuable than any argument won or point proven: genuine inner peace. This peace is not the absence of external conflict, but the presence of internal harmony that remains stable regardless of relational circumstances. Intelligent people understand that they don't need to win emotional battles against toxic people. They simply stop playing games where true victory is impossible. This conscious refusal to participate represents a higher level of emotional intelligence. You don't need to prove your intelligence through elaborate arguments. You don't need to demonstrate your strength through dramatic confrontations. You don't need to validate your perspective through the approval of others. Your intelligence manifests itself through conscious choices that preserve your well-being while maintaining personal integrity. This approach completely transforms relational dynamics not only with problematic people, but in all aspects of your interpersonal life. When you stop reacting impulsively and begin to respond consciously, you are exercising the muscle of emotional maturity that strengthens with consistent use. The end result is authentic liberation from relational patterns that drain energy without offering corresponding growth. You become selective about where you invest emotional attention, creating space for relationships that nurture rather than deplete personal resources. This is emotional intelligence in its most refined expression. Knowing when to engage and when to withdraw, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to invest energy and when to preserve it for more worthwhile opportunities. Truly intelligent people master this art through conscious practice and commitment to continuous personal growth.